you clicked on this video, you probably want to beat Cookie Clicker. Lucky for you, I have a very good strategy using science. Technically, it uses return on investment calculations, but, you know, science. So, what's this super secret method by Cookie Clicker in some similar games? Well, I'm glad you asked. So I have this spreadsheet here, which helps to explain how it's done. So the important thing about Cookie Clicker, or any sort of clicking game, is this concept of return on investment. So what is return on investment? It's the amount get for what you give. And this have really different kind of arbitrary values. In this case, we're looking at the cost per type. For example, us produces 0.8 cookies every second, and it costs 246 cookies to get it. So you want to try and find the item which has the highest return on investment, the highest cookies for the lowest cost. The most bang for your buck, the most cookies for your cookies. And so to do that, I'm able to make this little spreadsheet. So I give it a little bit of information. I tell it the cookies per second, how much each item costs, and then I calculate the return on investment by dividing the cookies per second by the cost and multiply it by 1,000. And the reason for that is so it's easier for a human to read. It doesn't have to be done like that, but since they're all divided by the same value, it has no effect. You don't have to do this, but I do find it slightly easier. And so you would think, well, the factory produces the most cookies. It produces 260 cookies. So shouldn't you invest all your cookies into factories? Well, the answer is no. It makes sense initially when you think about it. Yes, it produces a lot of cookies, but it also costs the most to buy. And so, what the calculation is, it tells you, okay, so it produces a lot of cookies, but also costs a lot. And the factory has the lowest return on investment of all of them. One of the highest, the grandmother, which is the second cheapest, yet has the highest return on investment, partially because of these boosters. So, in the store, you can get boosters to help make certain types produce more cookies and be more efficient. And they're almost always worth it if you can afford it, because they make the return on investment go up a lot, but they don't increase the cost in the process. So, for example, I have the mine, and I can double the mine. So, if I double that value, which is multiplied by 2, now the return on investment is also multiplied by 2, but the cost doesn't increase, whereas normally it does. It's more cookies per cost without raising the cost. So anytime you buy it, the cost goes up, which is why you have to constantly update the costs so you can properly optimize the bakery. So what if I want to know, well, do I keep upgrading my current types? And when do I buy the next one? So that is what this is for. My next upgrade is the bank, and it costs 1.4 million cookies. And right now, I'm producing 1,155 cookies per second. And with that amount of cookies per second, it would take 20 minutes. So I would divide the cost by the cookies per second. Assuming starting at 0 cookies, it's 20 minutes to get that value. With no manual clicking, it's just automated. The whole thing should be automated. So, 20 minutes is a bit of a long time to wait, and you're not making any more cookies if you're not buying new items with that. When you have items with really high return on investments, like the grandmother, it makes sense to be trying to upgrade the grandmother in more types before, instead of waiting 20 minutes and doing nothing. once the time gets lower, I'd say like 3 to 5 minutes makes more sense. That's much more reasonable time to wait. Then you can be like, okay, I want this next item. I'm going to wait. Maybe do some manual clicking to get my goal. And so I think that that's really, I think it's kind of weird. It's not very intuitive, because at first you would think, well, buy the most expensive one because it makes the most cookies. But that doesn't always mean it has the highest return on investment, which is more important. So that's why this return on investment calculator is just so important, and it makes a lot of sense. It really can help optimize what you're doing. So if you find yourself playing Cookie Clicker or any game where you're trying to automate and buy new, more efficient automated empires, and so this return on investment calculator can work for any of them. I just use Cookie Clicker for this example. And as always, remember to keep being smart and keep being awesome.